Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is J Mart. Today I am going to be making a video for my YouTube channel, First Reaction. It's where I will watch a video. I have not watched it before. I know there's a lot of reaction channels out there, but I am truly watching this for the first time. I've seen a lot of other YouTube channels in the past, that are reaction channels. They kind of pretend or play it off as like they're, watching something for the first time, but then they kind of have, scripted playouts of how everything goes. But I truly am watching this for the first time. I'm going to try and look at everything from, a non-biased perspective. I'm going to try to look at everything from the most neutral way possible, and give you guys my opinion. So I figured I'd start with Fox News, which a lot of people consider biased media, but that is where we are going to start, and we're going to see what Gutfeld has to say. And just a disclaimer, I also check out CNN, MSNBC, and Fox. So for a fair disclaimer, I do watch all three of the major networks, just to get a baseline of where things are. So we're going to go ahead and check this out and see what's going on tonight.
All right, Happy Tuesday, everybody. Another beautiful audience. So, how do you know when you're in the middle of some form of hysteria? Well, if people say you're crazy for pointing it out. You see this now with gender assignment surgery for kids. Proponents claim it's about the child's happiness. So how dare you suggest that cutting up kids like a Thanksgiving turkey is harmful? It's page 1 of the gaslighting handbook.
I'm going to go ahead and just throw this out there too. I actually had no idea that this was about anything to do with transgender kids or transgenders as a whole. So I guess we're just going to keep diving into this, and I must have picked one hell of a video, so we'll see where this leads.
You're nuts and not them. But thankfully, this delusion is now eroding. In the UK, a gender identity clinic was shut down after allegedly fast-tracking minors' gender transitions. A new book claims the facility ignored evidence that 97.5% of the children...
Let's go ahead and check this out. Sometimes they flash this stuff a little too quick for me to read. Ignored evidence that 97.5% of children seeking sex changes had autism, depression, or other problems. Oh, dude, that's rough. And dude, that's a high number too. That's a real high number.
Seeking sex changes had autism, depression, or other problems that might have explained their unhappiness. Because as we all know, there's no better treatment for autism, depression, and unhappiness than putting your privates in a blender. I'm sorry, if a child wants to change genders, no doctor should say, hey, well, you're the boss. That's like telling an anorexic, maybe you do need to lose a few pounds, and then handing her diet pills. A whistleblower says children who might not have been trans were treated as collateral damage by clinicians who labeled doubters transphobic.
All right, let's go ahead and read this. Staff at the facility were so determined to push pro-transgender policy that children who might not have been trans were treated as collateral damage by clinicians who labeled doubters transphobic. Oh my goodness. See, that's where things get so rough, in my opinion right now, where everyone is just so fast to, call the next person a transphobic or a homophobe or a racist or this or that, where these words are thrown around so much, and at the same time, people are absolutely terrified to be called or to be labeled these things that they will look the other way, just out of, not having to face risk of someone calling them a transphobic, just because of what it might mean to, their career, their life, I mean, just everything. So, I mean, it really makes it, situations like this, man, it's really hard. And I bet, if there was someone working at a place like this, I bet it would be really hard to where everything is so we have, pro affirmation. We have to affirm what they believe. We have to affirm everything they say. We have to affirm every feeling they have, where it's probably looked down upon if someone actually spoke up and said something. Because, I mean, like, let's face it, right now, um, the truth, if the truth comes off in a negative way, or the truth can come off in a negative light, um, that's not the that's not the woke thing right now, and that sucks, man. It sucks for these kids.
Sorry, if 97.5% are collateral damage, you got worse aim than Alec Baldwin. Sometimes kids, sometimes kids as young as 10 were sent on this path. I mean, where did these creeps go to med school? Epstein Island?
Oh man.
So what happens when all these abused children grow up into regretful adults? Beyond auditioning for the open seat on The View. They should sue the hospitals who force this stuff on them. I mean, you take a surgeon who leaves a sponge in your spleen to court, so why not one who leaves your weenie in a sink? They should pay, or it's going to keep on happening. But whistleblowers are starting to blow their whistles. PE teacher, she has a whistle. Jessica Tapia in California says she was fired for not complying with her school district's gender policies, citing her Christian faith. And once again, that pesky old Jesus ruins the party. Apparently, they wanted her to lie to parents about their kids' gender transitions under their privacy policy. A privacy policy. That's the perfect wedge between kids and their parents. But since when has someone saying, hey, don't tell your parents about our obsession with your genitals, has ever been the good guy? Here's Jessica.
I also found out, unique to my position as a PE teacher, that I was told I need to allow trans students into the locker room. That really caught me off guard, and I clarified with them, are you telling me I need to let male genitals into the locker room? And they said yes.
Oh man, did I pick one hell of a video to start this off with. This this stuff is so tricky, man. I honestly I could not even imagine being in her situation. I really couldn't. Um, I mean, looking back to whenever I was in high school, and you have people like me that were like, nonsense kids. I mean, we were always causing trouble. I mean, it was mostly like silly stuff. But at the same time, if you have a bunch of teenage boys, and, if they just want to be smartasses for the day, and hell, maybe for the week even, maybe for the month, maybe there's some kids that want to be, that they want to push it to the limit, right? That's what kids do. Kids push shit to the limit. That's just what they do. So, not only are you dealing with maybe, you know, a real child that could be, going through an actual transition in her life, but then there's all, things are just never, that cut and dry. They just aren't. So, you know, I don't know, man. That'd be. I think it's an absolute impossible situation once you go down this road. That's why things get so tricky once you just start doing this life affirmation thing where the truth no longer matters, and we're going down this road of everybody's right, everybody's feelings are right. And if you say no to anything, or if you stand up for anything, anyone's rights, like the 30 or the 20 girls that maybe she has to look out for, protecting that locker room from that one boy that's trying to get in there, from the one boy that might be trying to play jokes on him, or maybe there is an actual, like I said, a real trans student that maybe, I know everyone is focused, on the kid that is transitioning. I get all that. But once again, we're like going down this path of everyone wants to be so worried about the one person transitioning, and we need to make sure that that person's feelings are affirmed, and that they're taken care of. what about the 20 other people? So we're like doing this thing where it's, let's sacrifice the 20 girls, and hell, maybe it's 30 girls, maybe it's 40 girls in the locker room for that one guy, or whatever, whatever they're transitioning into. And maybe it's the other way around, man. I mean, I tell you what, if I had a daughter that was, and this was the other way around, and she was trying to get into a teenage boys' locker room, I tell you what, I'm 35 years old now, and the one place that nobody wants to be is a teenage boys' locker room, especially if there's, 30, 40 kids in there. You don't want to go in that place because you will hear, see, and go through things that you would never imagine go on in a teenage boys' locker room. I mean, it's hell on earth in there. So I don't know, man. This is rough.
She lost her job for sounding the alarm in whatever school district. Well, they say they take employees' religious beliefs seriously, but also the students' right to privacy. It's how bogus. Religious beliefs shouldn't matter first.
District takes seriously its obligation to accommodate its employees' religious beliefs. State federal laws. See, so like who is this statement for? Like, this is what is confusing. Like, she's the one that got fired, but like, once again, are we talking about the laws to protect the students' rights? Are we talking about the one trans, that one person's rights? Or are we talking about the, 20, 30, 40 girls? So, like, once again,
An atheist should be just as disgusted by this phenomenon as any Christian or Muslim or Scientologist. You don't need the Bible to tell you this is wrong. Just a 14-year-old daughter with a handlebar mustache. Meanwhile, the Missouri AG is probing disturbing whistleblower claims that a transgender clinic harmed hundreds of kids. Jamie Reed is a left-wing, self-identified queer woman married to a trans man. I'd love to see the figures on top of that wedding cake.
oh my God.
Now, this whistleblower is calling out the Washington University Transgender Center at the St. Louis Children's Hospital, where she worked as a case manager. Reed alleges staff used experimental drugs on kids, distributing puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones, and also used these drugs without parental consent.
Look, I'm not going to get into too much on this part because I'll be honest, like, I don't think anyone, including myself, has much to say. All you have to do is read this, and there isn't much to go off of here. Puberty blockers and life-altering drugs to children without parental consent. There's nothing else to say. I couldn't stand across from anyone and look them in the eyes and them tell me from a non-biased perspective that that's right in any sort of way. And if they did, or if someone tried to do something like this to my child, they better be more than, an arm's reach away. This is where things, I think, they just get absolutely out of control. That's out of control.
Meaning that if you gave your depressed son steroids to feel like a He-Man, they'd arrest you. But your depressed daughter, they'll pump her full of enough testosterone to make Lance Armstrong's nut grow back. Sorry. But this stuff would make Himmler blush. Reed also says that this led some kids to attempt suicide, and the center never stopped doling out hormones. Forget about do no harm. They didn't stop when they knew they were no harm. Looks like that. Meanwhile, Washington U says it's alarmed by the allegations, and they should be because it appears the jig is up. Parents know what they've been up to, and there's going to be hell to pay, and that's one bill they can't pass on to anyone else. Meanwhile, Reed also has evidence that Missouri unlawfully billed taxpayers to fund all of this. Where do these people get their balls? You know what? I don't want to know. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He's so British, he refers to Fox Nation as the colonies. Host of Piers Morgan Uncensored on Fox Nation, Piers Morgan.
Thank you.
She's so wise that you.
You did just say me on the 5, but you know, you can never have enough of me, right?
That's true. I never have enough of peers.
Thank you.
Yes, I think that should be your motto. No, you know what? I have a feeling we're going to look back at this era as the way we looked at the 80s during that kind of like child molestation scare. Remember, and there were all the daycare centers. That people are going to like, what were we thinking? Is it as crazy as it is here over there? Where
The Tavistock Clinic that you mentioned was in London, and the extraordinary thing, but this is actually widespread with this whole woke world we now live in, is that everybody knew this was wrong, what was going on at that clinic. Everybody had a sense. People were trying to get into it, to report on it, to expose what was happening to these poor kids. But anyone who tried to do that was promptly branded transphobic.
Right.
You were a bigot. If you didn't go...
That's exactly what he said at the start of the video. And I mean, that's awesome Piers actually touched on that, because like that's like where the ideology is nowadays. And like it's honestly, I'll tell you what, it's actually sad that I called that out prior to even hearing him say this. Like we all know that's where things are. That if you know a place, any organization right now that is doing nothing but bad or harming people or doing the absolute worst things, but if it's somehow tied to a minority that's supposed to be doing good for the minority, or if it's somehow related to a gay or transgender topic, you will be branded a racist or homophobe, transphobe, whatever. And those people that are running these places, because a lot of this stuff is funded by a lot of people, and there's a lot of money in this stuff. There's a lot of money going to these doctors, and other companies and pharmaceutical places that, look, man, these people will ruin your life if you try to stand up. And all it takes is one. It takes one tweet nowadays to be called a racist or a transphobic, and it's off to the races from there. It'll spread like wildfire.
Go along with this and acquiesce to every part of it. There was something wrong with you. And it turned out, actually, no. Everyone's suspicions were right.
Yeah.
Actually, what was going on in there was what was wrong and had to change. And this is the weapon that the woke brigade use, isn't it? Is that whenever you raise, say, the transgender in sport debate, when you see a 6'4" former male competing against women in a swimming pool and beating them up by 50 seconds, if you say, well, that's not fair, is it? It's wrong. It's unequal. You're a bigot.
Right.
You're a transphobe. And so it goes on. It's the weaponizing of these issues makes it almost impossible to debate. And anyone who tries to, J.K. Rowling and others who've tried to defend women's rights in all this, or children's rights, as in the case of the Tavistock Clinic, you become the weaponized person. You become the one who is attacked. When in fact, what you just read was one of the bravest things I've heard on television in the world.
Oh, now I'm scared.
Well, because finally, someone's actually saying the truth about this stuff. This is child abuse.
Yeah.
What's been going on? It's the
Crazy.
job of adults to protect children, not to expose them to what has been going on.
It is.
I couldn't agree with every single thing he said, and I couldn't agree more. And I'll be honest, if anyone else is watching this that tries to come at me and starts the conservative, racist, transphobic stuff, this is where everything gets so complicated, because this should never be a conservative, left-wing war. Like, this should not be and should never be the mutilation of children or the abuse of children or violation of children, anything to do with harming these children. It should never be this well, if my color's blue, they can do whatever they want, and if my color's red, they're all devils. Like, they can't be like that, man. If you look at this from if you try to look at this from the most honest perspective possible, if you try to look inside yourself and looked at this and said, would you give your kid puberty blockers that could fuck them up for the rest of their lives and could cause damage to them maybe 20 years from now? Or it could cause so much damage to them that it messes up their brain so much that they kill themselves. Suicide. Like, that shit is not a joke, and this shit should not be okay. And I mean, I think it's just wrong on so many levels, and the fact that it's political based now, like this stuff isn't even debated now with like honest conversation. It is just, it's political. It's if you're on one side, you know, they're like, dude, you know, that, I guess that's what's sad about it is that you'll have an entire political party that won't even say that this stuff is wrong. That's scary. Like that's scary. And what's worse is that like they're like on the right side of it. You know, they're on the affirmation side. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like I'll be honest, man. I've always tried to look things from the center, and you know I've actually considered in my lifetime, you know, between being a Democrat or a Republican, if this means all Democrats have to stand up for this and to affirm mutilating children or messing with children's brains with puberty blockers or having, like Pierce said, 6'4" males beating up on women in a pool or other sports or UFC, I mean anything, then I will never be on that side. Like I can't. Like it is morally wrong in so many ways, and the fact that there's so many people now that are afraid to just say like, what are we doing? What are we doing to our kids? And it's almost like they're on this thing where like they feel like they need to be on the right side of history, right? Because, you know, at first people were against gay marriage, but now gay marriage went through. And I think people were afraid to be on the wrong side of this, you know, 5 years from now, or, you know, in their political future to look back and say, well, look, you were against, you know, transgender kids, or, you know, you were against 5-year-olds transitioning, you know, 5 years. Like, if you don't stand up for what's right, I'm telling you, history will look back on this. And if you're just on this affirmation side of it, I honestly think history, because look, the pendulum always swings, and right now it has swung to the extreme on a lot of things. It always swings back. And if you're stuck on that side, and you were on that side of doing this to kids, you better look out, because, you know, they have some pretty extreme words for people who, you know, mess with children's genitalias and organs, and they're not nice words, and you're going to get branded as one of those, you know, within the next 5 to 10 years, I think, because I think eventually people are going to realize how bad this is.
Crazy. Crazy. It's crazy, Lisa.
Man, I picked a hell of a
because
video.
I hate children, and here I am fighting for them. I despise those monsters, but I'm speaking up. You know what drives me crazy is the phrase puberty blockers. For 300,000 years, we all went through puberty. I think you should just go through it, right? And then see what happens after. But how can you it's like saying, you know, I'm going to put off growing hair, right? It's not like delaying your driver's license. At some point, you're going to have to do this stuff.
That's what I thought.
Well, now, what's interesting is there's so many things, you know, that's been brought up before that you need to be over 18 to do, like get a tattoo or get some other cosmetic surgery. And, you know, there are rare cases when the parents can allow it. But in this case, you know
what, that's actually a good point. I've never, like, I've thought about, you know, stuff like that. I mean, obviously anyone looking at this saying like, you know, children getting this is crazy, but I've never actually thought like, yes, to get ink on your arm, you have to be 18 years old. You want your stuff going?
there's tons of storytellers out there that I really wish would be more public. I know that they have this obstacle in the media, but there's detransitioners, there's feminists like J.K. Rowling who have a problem with this. There's gays, there's parents. There's lots of people that can tell their stories on this, and I agree with Pierce that your monologue was great.
Oh, why, thank you. You know what?
Wow.
I like these kind of guests. After getting all that abuse from Tyrus and Kat, it's nice
It's
to
a lot
hear.
of tough love.
Yeah, you know, I wish you would transition to
Yeah, how
something
about it?
like appealing. What do you make of this? What do you make of this trend? Do you think that finally, like, there's a flashlight being shown?
Yeah, no, I think this is going to end in a bunch of lawsuits, and
Yeah.
someone's going to make a courtroom drama called 12 Angry Them.
Oh, dude, that's a bad joke.
That was actually a good joke.
That's a bad.
Listen, Here is the scam of why this has been going on from word one, and we know this to be true. There's two motives here. One, the clinics make a ton of money off the surgery and ultimately the meds that come with having a lifelong patient, which in its own is barbaric and reckless. Two is they're kind of manufacturing a new civil rights movement where they're trying to advance all of their legislation around anybody who opposes what we want is going to spark a wave of suicides. But we know it's not about the trans people and their well-being. Why? Because of our friend Caitlyn Jenner. If you remember the Caitlyn Jenner story, she got on the cover of Vanity Fair day one. They were like, she's beautiful. Anyone who doesn't think so is a monster. We're going to kill your dog. We're going to dox your family. Day two, ESPN Courage Award. She's wonderful. She's brave. Anybody who's not okay with this is a loser. They should be fired. Day three, she goes, I'm a Republican. They were like, her, get her out of here.
Exactly.
Screw you, Bruce. Wheaties gave me the I don't like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there it went.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know what that has to do with anything to
you
do
know
with.
this, I know this. Everybody here knows this. It's never been about tolerance or inclusion. It's always about whether or not you're a Democrat. And you can read further if you ask a black conservative or a female conservative who happens to be running for president. None of the rules apply to those marginalized groups.
You just gave me a great idea. Okay, we have men who identify as women while holding on to their genitalia and participating in sports. What if you, as a Republican or a conservative, transitioned into being a Democrat while holding all of your beliefs?
It's lethal.
That makes some sense, but at the same, it doesn't. Kat, what do you think? You can ignore everything I just said.
I did. I don't know. I mean, obviously, the way this happens is this is like the most contentious issue, is the trans issue. So I think with any contentious issue, the best thing to do is kind of take the contentious part out of it. And if you just say in any kind of medical situation, if there is a treatment that can have lasting effects on a person, then you want to really be sure that that's what you want to do. For example, you don't give someone chemo if you're not sure if they have cancer or not, because chemo can have lasting effects. So I feel like if you explain it like that to people, you have to agree. There's no way to not agree.
That's a really good point. I never heard that one, but that's actually really good. You know, there's tons of poisons that come. You know, it does a ton of damage to your body, and obviously, you know, you wouldn't give it to someone that you're not 100% sure. And that's the thing. Like, you know, especially children, man, there's no way you can be 100% sure of anything. Like, you can't. You can't. You can't be. People going through this, you know, as adults struggle with it. And, I mean, my goodness, a changing mind, young children like that, there is absolutely no way. Like, there's no way. There's a reason why this massive tick in number of transgender people are up. Because if you never told a kid what a transgender person was, they'd never come out and tell you that they were transgender in the first place. I mean, maybe you know, a girl down the line tells you that she feels like a boy. Maybe she does, you know, but maybe she does that after years of, you know, feeling her own self out and her own mind out and her own body out. That would take a long time to figure out. So the only reason these kids even know that this is a thing is because they're being taught it. Like, that's it. Like, there's no other way to explain it. Like, kids don't know what transgender is, okay? Like, it's a new term to adults. So, like, if you go back and start thinking about this, like, okay, kids are, like, how are they doing it and why are they doing it? Like, someone had to have told them this. Someone had to have told them that they were transgender. Someone, whether it's their parents, whether it is teachers, whether it is docs, someone had to have told them this at some point. A 6-year-old has no clue what a transgender is, okay? Most 6-year-olds don't even know that boys and girls have different body parts yet. Like, maybe if they have, like, younger sisters or younger brothers, like, and I'm talking like babies, like, maybe they have a baby brother, baby sister or something, and they know something's different. But, like, other than that, like, if you had an only child and you raised, you know, a boy up, he'd have no idea what a woman actually is. Like, he wouldn't. He'd have no idea. And well, he shouldn't anyway. So, like, for this notion that they have in their head that they know that a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old knows in their head that they are an opposite sex when they don't even know what an opposite sex is yet unless someone gave them a sex book. Like, it's really disturbing, man. And if you have kids, you'd kind of understand what I'm talking about because, look, kids don't know this stuff. Like, kids don't automatically understand and know this stuff. It has to be taught to them at some point.
Agree.
That's a brilliant way of putting it. But
Oh, I am glad I came back.
But if you, but if you do say that, I wonder if you're working at one of these clinics, they'd go, "Don't say that," because because that makes too much sense.
But also, it comes back to this thing of self-identity, right? This is the era we live in where you can identify whatever you want to be. Okay, Republican, Democrat, a good example. We just had a case in Scotland, quite unbelievable.
Oh, the rapist.
Oh, have you done this?
Yeah, we did this story. Male rapist identifies female to get into women's prison.
Male rapist who was married to a woman for many years, who said he's a total scam artist, gets convicted of raping 2 women. And at his trial, he suddenly puts his hand up and says, "Oh, by the way, I'm called Isla. I'm a woman.
Yeah.
So you can't send me to a men's prison where he would be badly treated. I want to go in a women's prison where there are fresh targets for him to attack." And he actually got into a woman's prison pretending to be a woman. The First Minister of Scotland, Nicholas...
First off, if you're a judge out there and a male rapist who, rapes women or got caught raping women, got arrested and is going to jail, and they say that now they're a woman, why do you think they do something like that?
Sturgeon just had to resign.
That is crazy.
The furore that this all caused. But this is where limitless self-identity
I can't believe that happened.
in a society.
Yeah, if you have no...
It's supposed to have some societal rules.
There's no restrictions anymore.
Right.
Restrictions are actually bigoted.
Right.
Any kind of like limits are racist. Last word to you, Pat. Did you have anything else you wanted to say?
I think I pretty much covered it.
Okay, good. Excellent work there. You can take the rest of this moment off.
Thank you.
Well, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys checking out my my first video. This is my very first YouTube video. I'm hoping to crank out some more. So if there's anything you'd like to watch or like to talk about, leave comments, send me links, hit me up. I appreciate it. And thanks for watching, guys.